What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with a huge comic book day haul. Today was a huge day for new comic books, for me at least, and haven't been this big in quite some time. I guess it's just the way it fell. And then also, my LCS had a sale today, 40% off. And if that wasn't enough, I also got a package in from Who Comics and also picked up a pop. So before we get started and I show you all that, go ahead so that you don't forget. If you're like me, tend to forget things like that. Oh, look, a squirrel. And hit that like button, the subscribe button if you haven't already, and then also the bell notification. That is, if you like to be able to make the conscious choice as to whether or not to view videos like this that come out ever so randomly. Hopefully everybody's day is going good. If it hasn't been, then you can live vicariously through all of my comic book shenanigans, and it will be better. I promise. What is going on, Rob Boswell? What's up? What's up? Yard man. Yard man. Okay. So let's start out with the turtle books that Who Comics sent me. It's crazy how this mail runs. So Who Dat's not but like 2 hours from my house. So I figured, well, okay, I'll get it in on time, because typically the old priority mail was 2 to 3 days. And that's not the case. I got stuff that was from California quicker, that was mailed out later, got sooner than the stuff that Who Dat sent me. Obviously, I know when he mailed it off, so it's no reflection on him. It's a reflection on the post office, unfortunately. But I did get those in today. So we've got a little TMNT action with TMNT number 7 from the original Mirage run. And then we've got a little book you threw in there extra for me, so I always appreciate the thought. And got TMNT 52 from that original Mirage run, and then 54. So I think that the new comic books are towards the end of the pile. They are. And so let's look and see what I got. Remember that these things were all 40% off of what you might see on the sticker price. What is going on, Ruben Guzman? Did you smell the turtles? Is that what happened, man? The things just all of a sudden. C. Woodard says that's what happened to him. Southern, how are you, sir? I am doing fine, Big O. Thanks for asking. Janome, thanks for stopping in. Man, it's just like StreamYard just went and called up all of a sudden. So, you don't ever know about this place. So yeah, just showing off a bunch of books. LCS had a big sale today, and couldn't pass it up. And I was going out the door, and the guy that runs the shop said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I meant to tell you that the back issues are all 40% off today." I was like, because I had just been thinking in my mind that there was a couple of things. I said, well, it was a kind of a new, big new comic book day for me. So I said, I'll just wait on those to maybe a lower week. But such as it is, here we go. It's got X-Men Gold number 10. So I only need 2 more issues to complete the X-Men Gold set. Little Omega Red action there. Got X-Men Annual, 2001. That's when they were naming them by the year. And this is the Sideways edition. So they did this for Uncanny, and as well as what was at that time referred to as New X-Men. Most of us know it as the Jim Lee run of X-Men. I was also able to complete my X-Men Legacy set today. So was able to pick up all the X-Men Legacy books and complete that set. So this is X-Men Legacy 271, cool road cover. And those X-Men Legacies, that's one of the better things about that run. So if you don't know, the X-Men run stopped, it changed to something else, and then when it changed back, it was called X-Men Legacy, and it picked up with the legacy numbers for the original Jim Lee run of X-Men. David Ewing, what's going on, man? I think that was the first Zorn. So, Zorn was Magneto, but then he wasn't Magneto. So I'm assuming you're talking about the real Zorn, right? So then we've got, and X-Men Legacy also had Adi Granov, Miko Sion, Mark Brooks. I mean, some great covers. X-Men Legacy 270. This is Mark Brooks cover. 269. Little Mark Brooks action there. And I just noticed this, but it had the, I'm guessing was one of the giveaways at the store from 2012 in the back there. Then we've got 264, 263, 260.1, 260, 257. That's a Miko cover there. A little Havoc action. And then 254. It's a good thing he had one set of boards and bags because I'm certainly needed them. Then we had, if you're going to show off, you got to show off a little Batman, a little X-Men, some Valiant, some Turtle stuff usually, and some Brooks on that X-Men. Yes, there was a lot of Mark Brooks on that, which he's I really like his work. Can't hardly go wrong with him and his stuff. I got Batman 99 among others going to go live to show off my haul. Okay, go ahead, drop a little thing. I won't charge you for that commercial that you just dropped on my channel. Appreciate it. Yes, I got Batman as well. It's down at the bottom of the stack, so I'm just going through the older ones I got today. So Exo Manowar number 16, number 21. Warlord. Hello. Yes, Brooks is solid. Yes, definitely. So I'm going to come on your show and your chat. I'm going to put in there. It's like, hey, yes, I did. I got a story about that too. So yeah, Exo Manowar number 43. Just trying to put that run together. Really solid read. Robert Vendetti did the writing on that. That's 45, 46. This is volume 3 of Exo Manowar. This is the annual from 2016. It's got, I didn't say.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Do y'all remember me saying her name? It's watching me, big brother. So this is Exo Manowar number 7. This is from the volume 4 run on that. Matt Kent and Clayton Crane on that art. Turtle Warrior number 2. Number 3. Number 4. There's a Miko cover right there as well. Number 5. Number 6. Number 8. And that run only went for 8 issues, so I was able to complete that set today. Got Batman 338. So that was one of the ones I was missing in that 300 run. I've got 379 to 713 now. And so I'm kind of working on those 300s and over halfway through with them. Batman playing hockey. There you go. There you go. Who is Shadowhawk? Got Shadowhawk number 1 newsstand. And so I had this in the glossy foil. But didn't have it in the newsstand, and it was 40% off of $2.25, so like $1 something. So wasn't that big of a deal? Yes, it was. X-Men Legacy 225. Grow. Strike a pose. Grow. Yeah, it's much better than Madonna striking a pose. But yeah, so that's the 90s variant to X-Men Legacy. Uncanny X-Men had a 70s variant, and the X-Men had 80s, I think. Already had this issue, but when I saw this cover, I had to get it because one of my wall things that I'm going to change out is going to be a Rogue Gambit wall. And so X-Men Legacy 236. We got 245. 246. And we got 253. Then we've got 261, another cool Mark Brooks cover, Exodus, the main deal on there. And it seems like that's a take from another issue. I think there was a Iron Fist that the X-Men starred in, Power Man Iron Fist, that shows that. There might be another one where Thanos does kind of a similar deal where they're just coming out of his hand like that. This one didn't have a price sticker on it. And then so my LCS, he was like, yeah, we'll just charge you $1 for it then. It's like, okay, cool. This is another one of those retro buys. Wildcats #1. Look at that price sticker on there. Can you believe it? You can tell he don't update his price very often. And of course, it was 40% off. So it was like $3 and some change. But the reason why I got it was a newsstand. And I say that you don't find these very often, but I've got 3 of them. One of them's graded. So first appearance of all those folks, as well as Grifter. And Grifter is going to be used in the Batman title. So been hearing a lot of talk about this from Mad Cave Studios. Woven Heart. This is the trade. I ordered it several weeks ago. Finally came out. I don't know if it was the LCS or I don't know if he was blaming it on Diamond. But this is the first graphic novel. It was kind of late to the game. And some of these indie titles that I know there's absolutely no way there's going to be any value to anything but issue 1 that I come in late to the game on. A lot of times I'll just pick up the graphic novel. I did the same thing with Who's Killing Children? Something is killing the children. And it was funny. I was in the LCS today, and there was a guy in there that was asking the guy that works there about this title, and he says, I can't remember, is something something's eating the children or something. I was like, well, that's not it, but they do eat the children. But this is the first several issues of this series of Woven Heart, so look forward to getting into that and seeing what's up and seeing if it lives up to my expectations. And if it doesn't, I'm going to blame everybody that raved about it. So, no. All right, so now we are down to the new comic books. Got Batman's Grave #10. This is the Arthur Adams variant cover. I don't know if this is the one I ordered, but this is the one I had. This is the one that they had. That's the one I got. Got Stealth #5. I had wanted to pick up these, and it got off my radar when New Comic Book Day shut down. So I had issue 1, issue 2. Missed it for 3 and 4. Here's 5. I put it on the pull, but now you can't get 3 and 4. So I'm going to have to find 3 and 4 somewhere else to kind of keep that run going. Kind of a good read. So Batman 99, as you can see, that is the ratio cover. And if you remember my haul from a couple of weeks ago, they had the Catwoman ratio cover of Batman 98. And I got it for, you want to take a guess? Cover price. So got it for cover price. And if you recall from that video, I told the LCS owner, hey, look, man, I'll pay $25, man. I'm not going to pay over that. You can do what you want to do. But he said, hey, look, you buy a bunch of books from me every week. And, you're not going to go turn around and sell on eBay or something to that nature. I said, no, look, I sell books, but in full disclosure, I do sell books, but I'm not going to sell this. This is going to the PC. So he just charged me $4.99 for it. So I didn't realize that he was going to have this one for me this week, though. So I come into the comic shop. He pulls out my pull list first. I go through it, make sure that if there's something that maybe I missed or he missed from my pull list that is up on the shelf, I don't get doubles of them. And so this was in the box waiting for me. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And I said, ooh, sweet. And he charged me $4.99 for it. So there you go. or $4.40 for it. He gives me like a 20 or 25% discount. Whatever that. So typically a comic is $3.99. He charges 25 cents for the bat. Any mathematicians in here want to take a stab at this? You're certainly more than welcome to. But he charges $3.99, or the comic book is $3.99. He charges 25 cents a board and bag. But then for the comics boarded and bagged, I only pay $3.30. So somewhere around 30% if you take into account the cost of the board and bag, unless he's giving me the boards and bags free and a 20% discount on top of it. In either case, it's a good deal. This is a Chew copy. I would have guessed it to be a Inhut Lee because it really favors the art, but the Clown Hunter right there on the cover of that one. And then I got the A cover as well. So we're going to see if my X-Men are not going to let me down with the Ten of Swords that is starting up here. There is a lot of these variant covers for issue 12. I'm not interested in getting them all. I think there is an awesome looking Mark Brooks Rogue one, though, that I'm going to have to check out and see if I can get. I've seen it around, but I haven't done enough digging to see whose variant it is as to where I can pick it up at. So got Catwoman 25. Yes, DC sucked me into all these crossovers from Joker's War. I don't typically do that. Typically, I let some of them go. I did not pick up the Justice League. That was a tie-in to Death Metal today, as an example. But I did pick up this Catwoman, and it is a Lee Berjama. Anybody want to take a stab at it, feel free to in the chat. But I got the B cover on that. It is a thicker book, and they do charge $6.99. I was wondering if they were canceling Catwoman. I don't typically pick Catwoman up, but I was wondering if they were going to cancel it because I know they're canceling a lot of titles. Don't mean they're going to stay canceled, but as of now, they're going to cancel. Picked up Giant Size X-Men 1. I was on the fence about this because I really have not been digging the Giant Size deal. The Jean Grey and Emma Frost one was no words in it. There were no words in it. There's just left me speechless. That's because they didn't say anything. Yes, there was no words in it. I hope they didn't pay Hickman very much for that one. And then I picked up the Magneto and the Nightcrawler one. Not a lot seemed to happen. And picked up the Phantom X one, which was kind of setting this one right here up. So that now that they're all basically out, there might be one more before Ten of Swords. Now that they're basically all out, you can kind of see how they're tying all things together. And so I was kind of flipping through there, kind of getting the gist of the story. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. Can't go wrong with a Storm cover, right? Can't go wrong with it. Bloodshot 8. So some new Valiant Love. This is the I never got my Orion comic book that was supposed to have arrived. I started to tell my LCS, just scratch it, take it off the thing if they didn't charge you for it, because I could have picked it up last week. I probably might still end up doing that, but after he put that ratio variant in there for me at cover price, I didn't want to tell him much of nothing. But yeah, so this is the B cover for Bloodshot. Tim Seeley, who is the author here, did was it the Rebirth or was it the New 52 run of Nightwing early on? Money Shot, more people know him for that. And so with the him, I didn't realize he was an artist, but if you notice my avatar on either IG or YouTube, you'll notice that you'll notice it's a sketch cover. It's a sketch cover of Bloodshot #1 that I had him do. So he is a very talented artist as well as a writer, but he is currently writing Bloodshot. We got Once and Future #11. So, what I said earlier about normally I go and get the trade and this is how I kind of pick it up. I did not do that with Once and Future. And the only reason why was because I was able to pick up the majority of them for cover price or a little bit less. I was in a comic book store in New Orleans down at Houdat's Way, and I was able to get them off of the shelf, almost every one of the ones I needed. Then I ended up picking #1 up off of a YouTube auction on the cheap. So I've been picking up all the singles of this. So this is number 11. Pretty good story. The story arc, the original story arc is over with. They've started another one. So we'll see if it continues to keep my interest enough to pay $3.99 each and every week. But Boom, right now, as far as indies go, is killing it. They've got Something's Killing the Children. They've got Once and Future. They got that one that just came out. They Only Find Us Dead. I've heard good stuff about it. Or we only find them when they're dead. Get it out in a minute. That came out last week. I did not pick it up. I've heard good things about it, so we'll see. Then we've got Star Wars number 6. So just got back on the bandwagon with this from the COVID. They finally released an issue, and in that issue, there was a new character that was force sensitive, able to tell that Luke was Darth Vader's son. And so in this one, there's a new lightsaber there. Don't know where he gets it from because I haven't read it yet, but really been digging the Star Wars. And I have said this before, but I guess it bears repeating, at least in my mind. And that is that when it comes to Star Wars, Marvel knows how to do Star Wars because I've been digging this Vader series too. Cool in-hook league cover, of course, doesn't hurt. It certainly helps. But the Star Wars, the Bounty Hunters, I pick up all those. And it's amazing that Marvel can get Star Wars right. I mean, if you go to the Kylo Ren series, Luke and Kylo Ren, that's how they should have been in the movie, and they weren't. So it's amazing that Marvel can get Star Wars so right, but Disney, that owns Marvel and Star Wars, can get it so wrong. Whereas when Marvel does the cinematic movies. And so the only thing I can put towards that is leadership. And so I would say that Kevin Feige must in large part be what is driving that success machine. I'm sure he's got to surround himself with a lot of good people. It all can't be him. There's just too many moving parts for it to make sense. But he's obviously better than Kathleen Kennedy. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about her getting out and all this other kind of stuff, and Feige doing more with Star Wars. And so we'll see how that goes. Somebody can eventually stretch themselves too thin where they're not able to be any good to anybody. But if Feige maybe had a successor or a protege that could pick up the Star Wars mantle, I don't know that he can do any worse than what they did or let them do. And why didn't you just have a script? George Lucas said, "Oh, I had the whole thing where had all the episodes." Well, no, you didn't. I mean, but you had like a general idea. Okay, this is the overarching deal. We've got a lot of the big stuff going down, and obviously the Luke Leia thing and Darth Vader being Luke's dad came a little bit later, regardless of what he says in later interviews. But anyway, you had an overarching goal, and I don't think they had that with 7, 8, 9. I think that they were just like, "Hey, we got a property here. We can sell." They haven't had a movie in forever. We can sell this movie, make a buttload of money, sell a bunch of merch on it. Then let's just throw up something. And so they threw up, the J.J. Abrams, the Force Awakens deal. And, largely it was fan service. So then you hacked off people that were really wanting something different than the typical way the Star Wars goes up and down. And then you had something totally different. You went to the total other side of the spectrum with, taking Luke and making him, the way he was, and then killing him off the way you did. And now everybody can be a Force user, and then made Rey even more powerful than, so on and so forth. So whatever. And then the other one tried to bring it back in, and it was a little too much of a daunting task based on the way Last Jedi had taken it. So picked up Thor number 7. Been digging this run, as a lot of people have. And so look forward to reading this. The thing with Thor, it might end up getting dropped, though. To me, God Country excluded. We're talking about Donny Cates' typical work, and I'm really referencing Absolute Carnage and then also Thor. I know he's setting up for a big game. He's a lot like Jonathan Hickman in that sense. He sets up for a big game, and he's got an overarching goal and a lot of little subplots that go off in his mind. And I know the editors are bound to turn around and say, nope, you can't do that, even though you plan to, even though you kind of wrote towards that end. And nix it, kind of like the whole Peter David writing Multiple Man, a baby, and then them telling you, nope, no more mutants are being born right now. So you got to then figure out what you're going to do. So I understand some of it's really not his fault. But to me, Absolute Carnage was an absolute flop because there was this huge buildup and it was just like so anticlimactic. It's just like, okay, all right, we're done. You're thinking like this, and you're just like, yeah, that's done. Wow, it's over. Okay, yay, it's over. And he is setting up for Noel return because that was kind of the deal at the end, that Noel woke up and was released, and King in Black and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying I won't pick up King in Black. I have not been reading Venom, even though I've had a lot of people say they liked it, and that's probably no more reason than, hey, I've got a lot of stuff I'm already picking up and a lot of back issues that I'm going after. So, I'll get on the Venom hype train later on if it's still rolling. So I also got Detective Comics 1027. Obviously, this is the 1,000th appearance of Batman in Detective Comics, and they needed some excuse to make a whole bunch of covers that cost $10. That's what it amounts to. It hasn't been but 27 issues ago that they had the whole Detective 1000 deal. I have a buttload of those. I have all the Decade ones, and then I have several other ones outside of that, but did want to make sure to have at least the Decade ones. And what's going on, Murphinator? The amazing Murphinator. And so I wanted to have at least those. So I did the same thing on the Joker. I have all the Decades for the Joker. I did not do that for Robin or Catwoman. And then I have some other ones outside, like the Clayton Crane one of Joker that I got signed a couple weeks ago. But I don't think I'm going to do that with Detective 1027. I wanted to get the Jim Lee cover, and as a matter of fact, my LCS called it right. He put the Jim Lee cover in my box. He's like, I figured this is the one you wanted. I'm like, exactly. You're right. The problem was the box got wet or something, and down here at the bottom it was really wavy, and some of the pages were stained. And I'm like, he had another copy on the shelf, and it was the same way. This one was not. I don't know if the rest of them were not, but of the ones that he had, this is the one that I felt like was the coolest. And this is that Bermejo, whatever, how you pronounce his name, cover. He's been doing a lot of the Detective Comics B covers, or all the Detective Comics B covers lately. And then you had the little throwback back there in the background. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I decided to pick that up. There was other ones I was like, yeah, okay, I'm on the fence of. I'm trying to get away from this variant madness. Herbzilla, what's going on, man? How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Because it is a madness, and it can be an all-consuming madness. Because I got to thinking the other day, there's only so many dollars in everybody's budget, and everybody's budget's different, right? But there's only so many budget dollars, and so what makes me the happiest? If it's variants, great. But I got to thinking, I'm like, does that? I want my comic book collecting, and feel free if you're totally against what I'm about to say, feel free to disagree because this is just me. Well, I'm a poet, didn't know it. But yeah, so just me. If when I pick that comic book up and I look at it, and that store, the remembrance of the store, and the remembrance of the art, the cover, really don't speak to me. Some of these, like I bought the Wildcats one, if you saw earlier, that's a total nostalgic deal. But the new stuff, let's talk about that. The new stuff, If I don't pick it up and have some, yeah, okay, I'm glad I own this, then I need to get rid of it, and I don't need to keep buying them. So a lot of the variant covers that I have been picking up, I just don't get that. Now, I have been picking up all of the Batman variant covers. I was fortunate enough to pick this one up at cover price if you missed that earlier. And so I've been picking up those, but I like that. I'm in the Batman feel of things. But as far as a lot of the other comics that I was picking up, one, two different covers for, I just instead get the cover that I like the most, and then go to get another comic book. Try something new out. The Boom and Image and these guys, AWA, they've got a lot of good indie stuff. There's a way more indie stuff that's high quality, both in art and writ, than it was 20 years ago. So I just rather utilize my money for that. Herbzilla says, I feel like investing in ratios is better than these variants. It seems like every retailer has their exclusives now. And it's a total crapshoot, whichever one's exactly. So if you're in it to invest, if you want to put that moniker on comic books, if you're in it to invest, you're totally right. There's just it's too big of a crapshoot. The ratio variance is a safer bet if that's what you're going for. I don't mind it when my comic books go up in value. It makes me feel better. I guess maybe that I spend so much that if they go up, I go, okay, I'm good. I feel better about it. At least that's what I tell my wife, right? Oh man, these things are worth so much money. It makes me feel better, makes her feel better, I guess. But largely, I get it for the story, for the art, the character. So in which case, like I said, majority are just now picking up. It's not necessarily the A cover. Sometimes I'll pick up the B cover because I just like it better. And DC's figured that out because DC goes, hey, we're going to put the really awesome looking cover on B, and we're going to charge you $1 more for that card stock. Thanks, guy. So yeah, what do you do? But Marvel is, in order to keep up, and DC's guilty of it too, right? But Marvel is supplementing their sales by selling all these variants. And so if you're a completionist like me, thankfully I'm able to work past that part of my completionist problem, and only get the stuff, only get at least one cover. So I can say, hey, I got at least one cover of everything. So that's like my Uncanny X-Men run. So I have Uncanny X-Men volumes 1 through 5. And I have all of X-Men, the Jim Lee run, volume 1. And I have all the annuals to all the Uncanny X-Men's. And then now I have all of X-Men Legacy, which is the second part of the Jim Lee run. And I don't have all the variants, though, especially on the Uncanny X-Men run when you get to 400 and 500 and 600. There were so many variants because that was in later years. Back in the day, I complained when X-Men 1 came out because they had the connecting covers and then the bigger one that had the gatefold. I'm like, man, this is way too much money. Of course, I was a broke kid back then too, but it's just too much money, and it's just getting the same comic book. But they do that in mass now. I mean, to Herbzilla's point earlier, is every retailer's got it, and I know why they're doing it. I mean, because there is a market out there for it, so that's fine. I mean, if variants are your thing, knock yourself out. I'm just saying it's not me. And like I said, I'm not dogging variants at all. You saw that I had all 3 covers to the Batman 99. It's just that I'm scaling back on them, and to pick up things like this Wolvenheart, which would not have been on the radar because I'd been paying for other variants, or things like Stealth, stories like that probably wouldn't be picking up. And I'm just trying to refine my collecting, because I was watching Bub's Comics earlier. He was showing a haul, and he was talking about $3,000 being his, or $3,000, 3,000 comics as his cutoff. He's got a hard cutoff due to space and things like that. He has a 3,000 comic cutoff. And I said, how do you do that, man? I see you collect comics every single week, bringing out these fire books. How do you, because it's hard for me to sell a lot of my stuff because they're often like kids, so which one to get rid of, right? So today, after, putting in CLZ, I don't know if you can see that really well, but 6,038 comics. So there are 6,038 plus comic books over there in that corner. And so, if I don't scale back in some way, they're eventually going to take over my room. So just kind of just thinking through it. I don't like graphic novels, because if you want to count graphic novels, like that, those are counting the graphic novels in there. And I probably got 40 that are over there on my regular bookshelf. I don't have, well, more than that with the old Dark Horse Star Wars stuff, probably 50 or 60. But I don't have them in boards and bags in the comics. I've got them on the bookshelf themselves, because in large part they don't really have any kind of value to them, just readability. But that is definitely an option. So I've just got to be more focused in saying, okay, this is something I'm okay with reading. So I'm okay to pick up a graphic novel, save a couple bucks, save a lot of space, versus something I'm going to collect. And so getting there is my deal. The other problem that I have, if I say that I want to start new things, it was hard for me to drop $20 at one time for this, even though this is 4 or 5 comics. It was hard for me to drop $20 on something that to me is an unproven property. So whereas if it was a $3.99 purchase, I'd be like, okay, we'll get that. So it's all in the mind. And as crazy as it sounds, that's just me. And so, to your own self be true. You got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Herbzilla says, there are so many ways to enjoy the hobby, to each or her own. I don't look down on anybody's buying habits. Oh, exactly. And so sometimes people like pops. Talking about pops, let's show the one pop that I got today. So I've been on the hunt for a Gambit pop. I've got a Rogue one. I've seen the Gambit, but it was before I really wanted it, and so I didn't get it. But I am on the hunt for it now. So I go into different Walgreens exclusive, in the different places that I go, trying to find the right places, seeing what Walgreens told me I could save money on. That's always good. And so pick this one up today. Don't know if there's any value to it. If you're a pop collector and you're in the chat or you watch this on the rewind, be sure to let me know. But this is the Walgreens exclusive Boba Fett, or Boba Fett, depending on tomato, right? Prototype. So as you might know already, that originally the prototype, he was all white. Very same thing as what the Stormtroopers, and then later on they added color to him, and then later when the prequels happened, the whole backstory as him being a clone that Jango used or got as a reward, if you will, part of his pay for donating his material so that they can make the clone army. So I thought that was pretty cool. So just decided to pick that up. Herbzilla says, I've gone comic hunting in Tokyo a couple of times before, and I failed to find any. I found some graphic novels, and that's about it. Where do I go? So he's talking to Kay Titus, who, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you. And so Ken, he's in every show. I'm like, dude, when do you ever sleep? Now he's making videos. If you haven't checked them, go check them out. But now he's making videos. But yeah, he's in every single chat. You don't ever sleep. And there's such a time difference from, where he's at as opposed to, us in the United States. It's amazing how he keeps up with it all. So there's that question out to you, K Titus, to see if you could maybe answer that. I love going shopping for comics in these different places. I love talking to the shop owners and just talking shop and talking comics. I was that weird kid growing up that would talk to the comic shop owner and, okay, how do they distribute? How much money do you make on each comic and all that kind of weird stuff, whereas everybody else was just coming in there and buying crap and moving on. K Titus dropping the knowledge. So if anybody aside from Herbzilla is interested in shopping in Tokyo, 2 places. I'm not going to butcher that name, but you see it on the screen. And the other one is, I'm not going to butcher that one either. You can check the internet, type it in, comic shops. John's Comics with Kids. You just made me think about it. I bought some comics from you on an auction that you and the boy who had 7 did a while back. Are you going to be doing any more auctions pretty soon? Because if not, of course, I paid you for the books, but got you to hold them for me to see if I could save on shipping a little bit. But if you're, let me know if you're going to be doing any more auctions anytime soon that I myself or anybody in the chat would like to know about. Herbzilla says, I've been to both of these areas and Googled, but I don't speak Japanese and I struck out. Yeah. Well, that's true. I could see that. YouTube is 90. What's up? What's going on, man? How's Mrs. and little Nanny? Hopefully everybody is doing well. And do have a question for you. So if you ever move closer to a comic shop, or if a comic book shop comes closer to you, are you going to change your name? Or is it always going to be 90 miles from comics? Okay. Well, when you get closer to setting a date, time, that type of thing, if you don't mind, sending out something on the Insta to let me know. That way I can try to be on there and see what else you got so we can clear that box out of your way there. Yeah, Google Translate helps. I was in when I owned a mobile home park in Mississippi, or another mobile home park in Mississippi. The vast majority of my tenants were Hispanic, and so language Google Translate really was helpful. It really was helpful. So we wouldn't even try it. We just like talking the phone and then show it, that type of thing. So it was really helpful to be able to do that. I imagine it's the same way in Japanese. And there's an app now that really helpful that you can actually scan like a sign so it can read that stuff and translate it for you. So that's really helpful. Having been to multiple countries, contact them on Instagram. So there you go. Having been to multiple countries and only speak one language, and not very well, depending on who you talk to, it's very helpful to have something like that now. When I went to Rome, they say when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do, but I found that not to be true because I guess I didn't know how they were doing it. They drive all crazy. I drive crazy and they flip me the bird. What's going on with that? When I was in Turkey, I was worried about getting locked up in some Muslim gulag somewhere. So I on my best behavior there. Spain was okay. They still had bullfighting and such back then. Running the bulls, I think they stopped that. Let's see. I just get a nerdy souvenir every time I go to Japan. I thought it cool to get a dope comic book from there and add to my collection. I wasn't looking for anything particular. Yeah, and that's something. When the last time I was out of the States, I was not collecting comics then, So last year I went to Monaco. Don't know if they had any comic shops or not. If you ever been to Monaco, this is where it's one of the James Bond films. Feel free to enlighten me in the chat as to which one, if you know. I wanted to say Casino Royale, but for some reason I'm doubting myself. This is in large part the is a very wealthy little bitty nation. Grace Kelly married the prince of this place, and they love her there. There's a statue everywhere you go. But the as far as the mileage and going across it doesn't take very much. I got on a bike and I rode into was in there, France, and then Italy. So and I forget how many miles I did that day, but boy, them hills, whoo, them hills are something over there. But I wasn't collecting comics back then, but it'll be interesting. I'm supposed to be going to Israel in May, provided something with this Corona thing doesn't flare up, and which I think is largely going to be died down by then, hopefully. And so anyhow, I'm hoping to get some maybe some foreign comic books, or even if it's an English comic book, if I can say, hey, I bought that here, I feel like that would be worth to me. Because I've gotten several foreign variants, French and Spanish variants, and various things like that. It's kind of cool. Having just said that I don't want any of those variants, I'm talking about variants that mean something to me. Let's see. Kay Titus says, I have been to 87 countries and speak 13 languages. Dude, how do you fit all that in that head of yours? Man. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah, man. Speaking that many languages. Whoa. You're way more studious than I am when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I tried Rosetta Stone for a little bit. I know enough Spanish to get me into trouble. The only thing I remember from French is greetings. And so I took French in school because all my friends were taking Spanish, which I should have took, but and they said it was certainly easier than French, but I wasn't listening because I was naive, and I believed that French class taught you how to French kiss. Ooh, didn't learn the language and didn't learn that there either. Dang, way to go, Kate Titus. But yeah, so getting all that, and back to Herbzilla's point is like everybody has their own little niche in the deal. So we're all attracted to some of the same characters, but different characters. If you've ever watched Everything Comics, Bullseye Bob, who was on the Coffee and Comics video every Monday with Bueller. If you ever watched his story about the Vision and even an android can cry, and how it was basically his origin story into comics, and how and why it meant so much to him. A lot of times that's with all of us. It might not be the same issue, but we were going through a certain time in our lives, and it really left a stamp, like a date stamp, in our minds. The story just really spoke to us, and I can't think of an old one right now. I probably will before I'm said and done, but I will tell you one more recently, and that was God Country. So God Country has really was really one of those stories. I was like, wow, yeah, there was so much more deeper meaning there. And the reason why is because my great grandmother had Alzheimer's disease, and it was difficult dealing with the fact that sometimes she would know you and sometimes she would not. And because they feel like, or I have read that it is largely hereditary. And I have always had a fairly sharp mind. I remember what I did when I was 1 year old. Yeah, that's weird, right? But so when I start to forget stuff, just out of the blue, it makes me very fearful of that. And to me, the father, and when his memories were restored, he was going to do anything that he could to hold on to that because of all the stuff that he missed out telling his son while he was growing up. And that sequence that at the end when he dies and he passes on his memories basically to his son. His son saw all those times and all the things that he really felt. His dad didn't really love him, or his dad was kind of distant, whatever like that. He realized what his dad really felt about him. So, that was one of those comics that it wasn't really about. They had some cool covers too, like a Savage Dragon one homage and several other things, but it really wasn't as much about that, but it was about the story. And so there's stories like that, and that's the thing about comics. And that's why everybody's attached to certain characters, right? Because it's largely what you were like a DC versus Marvel. If you were exposed to Batman and Superman, you were more of a Marvel character. I'll tell you that another example of this, because one would think that I would be more of a Superman, because growing up, you had the Christopher Reeves movies. Okay, there was no such thing. You had Incredible Hulk, so I did like Hulk. But it was more DC, right? And then you had Batman come out in '89, the Michael Keaton version. It was my first Batman comic, was picked up at the newsstand, off of a newsstand after I saw that movie in the theaters. And so you would think that, but it wasn't that. I really connected with the X-Men. Of course, Wolverine was cool, and Nightcrawler was religious. There was varying things about that team dynamic that I really liked. But growing up, and maybe some of you can, and I really didn't intend this video to kind of go this direction. It just kind of did that. But um, as most of you probably already know, Stanley and them kind of had Martin Luther King Jr. and had Malcolm X as their thought process behind Professor X and Magneto. And basically that, hey, they're born this way and they're shunned basically just because they were born. And people hate what they don't understand. And so growing up, I was really an introvert. Being the fact that not only am I a preacher, but also a vice president of an insurance company, I didn't have any choice but to figure out how to speak in public or how to talk to people that I don't know. But growing up, I was that. And so a lot of times, because I was the nerd and that was not popular back then, now it's like all the rage, right? Everybody wants to dress like a nerd. But back then it wasn't so popular. So I was picked on a lot when I was a kid. And so the X-Men really spoke to me for that reason, because they were able to do the right thing because it was the right thing to do, regardless of if they ever got fanfare for it. We have, since the X-Men have evolved, I guess there's a pun there, right? The X-Men have evolved, and so time will tell as to whether or not I continue to collect X-Men. If it's just going to be a big orgy fest, I'm going to be out. But if it's going to get back to the basics, that hey, we've got a dream to be peaceably habitating with the people that we're just like, except we were born with power. Then hey, I'm all in, because I can get behind Kitty Pryde and get behind Colossus. I mean, Storm. I mean, there's so many great characters, right? And so that's the other thing about liking a team book as opposed to an individual book, because there's the team dynamic. You don't have to necessarily like every character, but it does give you a plethora of characters to choose from. Yeah. So, so everybody's kind of got that story. to deal with. And being with the nerd, I was a reader, an avid reader. So, comic books were just that natural progression for me. And so I'm still in large part a reader today. I go back and I've read the same comics over again. And so when I started back collecting, because I got rid of my whole collection, those 6,000 plus comics, those are all been purchased inside of a year's time, because my daughter will turn a year old next week, and I started purchasing them the week she was born, week before she was born, a couple of weeks before she was born. So inside of a year, 6,000 comics. So a lot of them I went back and I purchased ones that I used to have and went back and read them. And some of them meant the same stuff to me. Some of them meant more. Some of them meant less. It's one of those things. Yeah, yeah. Hulk, Wolverine, and Batman. Man, I used to love. And I didn't get into comics until well after I went through that phase of my life. Yeah. Well, and later in life, either whether you're young or whether you're old, when you get into comics, it's an escapism, right? Because you're reading stories that you can connect with those characters, similar situations that they're in, and maybe not saving the world, but you want to feel like you leave the world a better place, and you want to feel like in the end the good guy's going to win, and that's what everybody wants to feel like. And so that's why there's a draw to those characters. I tell you, something that really connected with me with Hulk. I had severe anger issues when I was a kid, and it was from not willing to talk about things out in the open with people. I had suicidal thoughts, and had to see a psychiatrist and all that other kind of stuff. So I know what some of these folks that battle the depression thing go through, because I've been through it myself. And with God, was able to work my way out of it, and obviously the help of him and my wife and such. So, but growing up, I had these anger issues. So Hulk was definitely understandable character, because hey, I'm going to turn into this big green monster. I always wondered if I was ever going to turn into a big green monster. I'd be a mutant monster, because I've never been exposed to gamma radiation, but be a mutant monster nevertheless. So, so yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that that deal. Um, and Batman is just like, this guy's just so smart. He didn't have to have superpowers. He's just cool. Kicks butt, takes names, and still has this kind of moral, high ground that he tries to maintain. Not very good at being a father. So if you want to be a billionaire superhero, that's good. Bruce Wayne, not so much. He's horrible for a father. I mean, who sends your kids in to be shot at and everything else? Hey, I'm going to adopt this young kid. If Batman grew up in this age and this era, people would be like, he must be a pedophile. What's this single guy wanting to take this young boy in for? He's taking all these young boys. He never takes girls. He only takes boys. He'd be considered a pedophile, right? But back then they didn't think nothing about that. And he to put him in harm's way is kind of an outside deal. But so yeah, buttload of, and I do appreciate everybody watching. The few people that are still watching after I did my rant and all that other kind of stuff, I do appreciate those who stuck with me. And if you didn't catch it live but are catching this on the rewind, I appreciate you as well. I want to remind everybody that I am going to be doing a 600 subscriber giveaway. It is a New Mutants 98 9.4 CGC slab and a Deadpool pop that has the metallic Deadpool pop. So I'm going to be giving that away. I have not released this stuff as of yet. Yes, I am procrastinating, but I want to make it easy, but want to make it effective too. And but suffice it to say that you do not have to live inside the United States. Okay, Titus, when time comes and I reveal what you have to do in order to win, guess what? You can win. Ask Gray Man. I sent him some comics not too long ago. So off the last 450 subscriber giveaway deal. So But you will have to be at least 18 years or older, and you will have to be a subscriber to the channel. So you can't change your age unless you got a time machine. And why in the world would you want to go back to 2020 anyway if you had a time machine? But if you do are not rather subscribe to the channel already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and get that out of the way so you ain't got to worry about it. And smash that like button before you get out of here, because I'd really appreciate it. And then if you choose to do so, go ahead and hit that bell notification so that when random videos like this drop, and I mean random videos like this drop, then you will be one of the first people to know and can make the conscious decision as to whether or not to utilize your time in some other various means of entertainment, or watch me with my accent. I'm told I have an accent. I don't think I have an accent. But anyway, what's going on, Hidden Gem Comics? Coming in here right at the end. Like that avatar right there. K. Titus was just talking about Hulk and Wolverine. That is a matchup for the ages. I sold that comic right there to somebody, and then I said, well, I'll eventually get another one. And lo and behold, I was on a YouTube auction, and they put a newsstand one up. So that's kind of some of the nuance that I get on some of my comics now. I say, well, hey, I really just want a newsstand. So I'm okay with a lower grade. An example of this is Batman Adventures 12, I believe, first appearance of Harley Quinn. It's only a 7, but it's a newsstand. So those are pretty cool. And that's what I'm going to do, because that 9.4 that I'm going to be giving away for the 600 subscriber giveaway challenge, the 9.4, the New Mutants 98, I'm going to upgrade mine. When I say upgrade, it might only be a 9.0 that I get. It might be a raw copy, but it's going to be a newsstand. So do appreciate getting those when I can sneak them up. And I'll take a lower copy because I just wanted a newsstand. Like that Wildcats 1. Why in the world would you want to have multiple copies of Wildcats 1? I have a slab copy of Wildcats #1. I bought slab from Uncle Roman, by the way. I didn't slab it. But I bought it from Uncle Roman that way. But why would you want it? Just because. I should have grown up with 10 sisters. Whoa, man, you had to be on a family farm to take care of all them kids. I have several brothers and several sisters. I'm the oldest of them all. My parents separated, so I have a brother that my mother had with somebody else, a full sister. I don't want to say half brother because he is all my brother, even though he's a knucklehead, to be sure. I think he takes after his dad. But then I have a brother on my father's side, and I have a stepbrother and stepsister. So, I have a rather large family. And then I have 6 kids myself, me and my first wife. There's only one. I just say that because, bring on craziness. So I do like the dynamic of a bigger family. And, the good thing, too, if you lose one, you always got more. I'm just joking. Just joking. We definitely growing when the kids were growing up, because my oldest one's 23 and my youngest one is going to be 1 next week. Growing up, we always had to do roll call. Okay, here, okay. Because otherwise you'll end up leaving one. And I've left one before, left them in the car. Thankfully, I remembered and went back and got them. Left them at church, and thankfully they were still there looking for me. But yeah, it's all fun, and having K. Titus, now that you're growing up, I'm sure you got some knuckleheads for brothers and sisters, because there seems to be at least one in every family. I know it is in mine. And but they're your knuckleheads, and so you just deal with it. But I do appreciate everybody that has stayed with and share the channel out so we can get to that 600 subscriber, and I can give away that slab sooner rather than later. Until next time, keep reading and keep collecting.